Hey guys, Darren Neese here. Do you have controls that need to link together with other controls? Do you have one dropdown that needs to be populated based on which item is selected from another dropdown? Those are called linked controls, or in this case, cascading dropdowns. And as you develop apps with PowerApps, there's going to be a lot of instances in which you'll need to do this. So let's step through and explain how to do this. We'll also be explaining how to use the distinct function. Let's go. All right, so this screen is going to need a set of 3 drop-down lists that are going to depend on each other. They're going to be cascading drop-downs. So let me bring in the data. So we'll take a look at that. Now I do like using the data table in some cases. Most of the time I don't, but in some cases where I just want to peek at the data real quick, I do find it helpful for that case. So I'm going to click on tblJobTypes and we'll take a look at what we have here for job types. So we're going to have 3 drop-down lists or 3 controls that have a listing type capability. So we don't have to use drop-down lists. We could use galleries. We could even use a list box. There are some cases when you want the user or the users want to be able to see multiple things at once rather than just clicking on a little downward chevron and clicking on a particular item and then hiding all those items again. In that case, you might want to use something like a list box or a gallery. Gallery is going to give you the most flexibility. Just to keep things simple, for now, I'm going to use 3 drop-down lists for this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this data table a little smaller. I just want this data table here just initially so we can visualize the data, what's going on, and how things are going to cascade. So what I want initially to happen is for them to have a drop-down for category. So they select the category, let's say mechanical problems. And then I'm going to have all the job types being displayed that are tied to that particular category. And then I'll have a third drop-down that will be the subtypes. And let's say we selected mechanical problems, then the second drop-down, we select exhaust. Then I only want, let's say for example, this diagnostic and repair all the way down, okay, that are associated with exhaust. All right, so we need 3 drop-down controls. So as I've said before, I like to use a screen where I have all these pre-configured controls all ready to go, and I just copy from that screen, paste it there. There's the second one, and there's the third one. Okay, so for all 3 of these, they're going to be using the same data source. So tblJobTypes. So we'll copy that and we'll use it for this one here, second one, and then the third one. Okay. Now the very first one, we want category to be displayed, which it already is. That's good. Now the second one, we want that to be job type or JobTypeText. There we go. And the third one will be subtype or JobType or JobSubType. There we go. Probably be a good idea to have labels to go along with these. So let's go back over here and get us a nice label that has the theming already set up for us. There we go. I'm going to paste it here. It has a height of 30. That's fine. So I like things to align really nice. Make sure they're all lined up and have about equal spacing. The first one, we're going to call this category. Job type. And job subtype. Very good. All right, so if we run this and we look at these, there's a lot of repeating items. So what we want are distinct values. Now, if we were to go over to our job type screen that we worked on last week, you'll see that these are all of the categories that are available. There's only 5, so we only want 5 items here. So if we want distinct types, there is a function within PowerApps called distinct. There you go, and it wants to know what column, what column we want to perform the distinct on. So in this case, it's category. Very good. Now, distinct will return a table, and that table value is going to be different than this table value. So if I select that, that's a of-type table. I click on this downward chevron, you see I've got data here. But if I do the same thing for a distinct, if I select this distinct, it's a single column table. And whenever you use an aggregate function like distinct, you're going to have a column name of result, making sure that the drop-down list is selected. Going over to the right side, you see that the only value we have to select from is result. So it's nice that the drop-down realized that was the only column to display. So now if we run it, see that? We only have those. Now, looking at this, I probably want these sorted alphabetically. Okay, so let's wrap a sort function around it. Instead of saying category, there is no category column at this point after we use the distinct function. So we're going to use that result. Okay, and that should work fine. Now I'm going to hold down Alt to run it, to check this out. So B-E-E-M-S. It is in alphabetical order. Very good. Right, so our category is set up now. So moving on to our job type, what we're going to do here is we're going to filter this down, this result set here. So we're going to use the filter function. And the column that we're going to be looking for is category. Filter that, category equals, and we're going to reference this dropdown. Now, because we're going to reference it, we need to give it a good name. So we'll use DDL, and it's a good idea to have some type of indication of what screen the control is on, because the scope of control names is really global. If I just say DDL category, I might have another DDL category on another screen, and there would be a naming conflict. So it's always good to give some type of indication. For this example, looking at the name of the screen, I'll say sales edit, maybe an underscore, and say category. Very good. So I'll click on that name, that new name. I'll go back over to the other drop-down list. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to paste that. I'll say selected text, which is what we want, dot value. So now if we run this, there we go. So something I don't like about this is this isn't sorted. So let's wrap a sort function around it. And this is going to be job type. JobTypeText. And now if I hold down Alt, I can click in here and you see that it's sorted alphabetically. Now, I do need to check some of these other categories and make sure that some of these job types aren't being repeated. And they are. Do you see that? So what that means is we probably have two different subtypes with this window. So what I want to do here is I want to filter this down with a distinct function as well. So I'm going to click on that, and we already know how to do this because we just did it a few moments ago, but let's format this text because we need to break things out a little bit. We actually want to perform the distinct after it filters. Okay, and so the first parameter is a record set or a table inside of a PowerApps application. That's the first parameter. The second parameter is going to be the column. So it's going to be that job type text. There we go. Now, what you already know is after we use the distinct here, there is no job type text column. So here we actually need to say result. Looks like there's no errors. And what I like about this format text is if you click on that and it actually formats it, means there's no errors. Otherwise, it won't do that for you. Okay, so let's run this and we'll see there is only one Windows. See, that's good. All right, very good. So now we need to do a third level of cascading dynamic population of this dropdown based on what's selected here. And so it's going to be awful lot like what we have here. Let's go in here and work with what we got. So we're going to filter this. And we'll say, all right, so we filtered it. What we're going to do is we're going to sort this, make sure it's sorted. And it's going to be sorted on JobSubType. And I think we're good with that. So it doesn't like this. So what's going on here? We filtered, oh, you know what? We need to reference this drop down here. So DDL sales edit underscore job type. And we're going to use that. I'll go in here, that subtype equals whatever is selected out of this. So selected text dot value, and now we should be good. You're typically going to use distinct if you're working with the same table. You don't have to use the same table. You don't have to use distinct, but it comes in handy a lot of times. There's something that you should keep in mind while using distinct, which is how many records have you set up your project to work with? So for example, if you go into your settings and you scroll down here on the general tab, data row limit. So 2000 is the max that you can go to right now. And I believe the default is 500. Just keep in mind if those job types, we only have between 100 to 200. So it's nowhere close to hitting this 2000 max. But let's say you got 10,000 records in that and you try to pull over that result set, try to pull over 10,000 rows, you're really only going to get 2,000. And then you're going to perform that distinct. You might only get one value when there's many values beyond that one. You need to be careful while using distinct. If you've got multiple values that you need to get at in a table that's got more than that, you should really break those things out into separate tables. That's the better way of handling that. So I hope it's apparent that it doesn't matter what other controls here. We could have combo boxes, we could have list boxes, we could have galleries. And what the difference is there, when you click on the items or the data source for those controls, it's going to look the same of how we sorted. We filtered down by the distinct and we use the filter function. All these different things would apply to those other controls.
If you found anything in this video helpful, we would really appreciate you click on that like button. Are you feeling overwhelmed with PowerApps? Do you feel there's just so much to learn and you don't know where to start? Lucky for you, Darren has the solution. Discover how you can condense 6 months of PowerApp struggles in just 90 minutes. Click on the link below to learn more about Darren's PowerApps Deep Dive Masterclass.